Good morning, Eddie here, and today we're talking about angles of light. If you're struggling with flash, if you're struggling to understand light, this is the place to be. Also, please note that I have a Telegram group. If you've got any questions about flash, I'm happy to answer them. And Telegram's really easy because you can send audio messages and just ask me directly. So that, if you want help with that, it's t.me/grainhappy. Now today we're talking about angles, making and breaking the shot is all about why angle matters with your lighting, right? So let's get started with a few examples. Example number one, raccoon eyes. When the light is directly overhead and beaming down, it puts the eye socket in total shadow, which makes taking photographs a total nightmare. Now you can fix this in post, but don't try to. Don't try to fix it in post. Try to fix it while you're taking the shot, and it'll be much, much easier for you. Now, if you're trying to fix it in post, what you would do is you would actually paint the area where the eye socket is dark and then try to then lift that area with exposure. Now it's not going to look anywhere near as good as if you just do it in person and fix the light issue, but you can kind of fix it in post. But the idea is to be able to look at your subject in that lighting and notice that kind of stuff, that of all the things you're thinking about, your camera settings, your aperture, your ISO, what's going on with their expression, what their pose is, your angle, the composition, there's a million things to think about. And as you move forward with your progression with flash, with your camera in general, you start being able to think without noticing that you're thinking. You start to be able to think and make decisions without actually having to sit there and use your entire brain power for like, what am I doing here, right? So the same thing goes with light. As you start to learn these different aspects of light, you will be able to just know when something is wrong. You'll be able to see somebody's face and immediately go, I can see the shadows on your face. I know we're in the wrong spot. And then what happens is you fix your light, and because you fix your light, you end up with way better photos than if you just kind of just make it happen. And then later, when you're finally sitting down and you finally give yourself time to think in front of the computer, you go, oh, I really need to change the angle of the light next time, or I really need to be thoughtful about the angle of light because now I'm sitting here trying to paint people's raccoon eyes to be lighter, when really what I should have done is taken them and moved them over here, or tried a different angle, or put some sort of reflector above them, or shoot through sheet above them to be able to make that light a little bit less harsh. You're never going to want to be shooting with the sun directly overhead. If you're in the middle of a field and there's nothing else you can do, then you need to make sure that you shoot at the right time, that you show up when the light is good, and you plan to be there when the light is good. You don't ever say again to your client, sure, I'll meet you at 12 noon, 1 o'clock p.m. Great, we'll meet in the middle of a field. You don't say that because you understand I'm never gonna have good light here. Okay? So as you work through your understanding of light, yesterday we talked about size of light, if you want to take a look at the live that we did yesterday. And today we're talking about angle, right? So here's another one. A flashlight held under the chin at a campfire, but with the light hitting the face, has a different angle, right? The nose actually casts a shadow upward onto the face, and the cheeks also cast their own shadow upward, making everybody look creepy. So this is yet another example where just by changing the angle of your light, you completely change the feeling of a photo, right? You're never gonna be taking a picture of your clients with the flashlight underneath their chin because it looks weird, because it looks bad, right? So it's the same thing with the sun coming down. It's just coming up from the bottom. So really what happens when the sun is setting, as opposed to the sun being overhead, the sun finally comes down to a point where then the sun is coming across the face, right? The sun's not coming down and then hitting the eyebrow line and then putting this area into shadow. The sun is now lower, and so now the sun is coming across the face, and also it's not quite as bright. So that's helpful because it's not this huge blaring sun, but just kind of a muted brightness. And then also because if it's coming through trees or whatever else, it's easier to find places that are in partial shadow because there's more things in the way of the light. The sun is lower, therefore it's going to hit more things. You have more space to just be able to take better photos because you're not having to fight with the angle of the light, right? So with that same sort of concept, as you are creating your own light, let's say you're not in the middle of a field, let's say you're in a studio and you have your flash, Same kind of concept, right? The worst thing you could do in that scenario to copy that, noontime sun is to have that light shooting straight. If you have a flash shooting straight down at somebody, right? That's no good. But also, the number one thing that new people with flash do is they put the flash right on the camera. So it's a deer in headlights sort of look. The angle of the light is again wrong. You don't ever want to have your light source coming from the same place that you're taking the photo from, because then it's driving your car where your headlights are moving forward, right? And the deer comes across the road. It's this like, I don't know how to describe it, but you know exactly what you can visualize it, right? You know exactly what deer in headlights looks like, right? So as you get the flash off the camera, the shadows on the face change, right? We're not trying to ever shoot down, right? We don't want the sun shooting down at us. We don't want our flash shooting down at us. We don't ever want our flash shooting from the same exact place we're taking our photo from. So you got to get your flash off the camera. You have to get your flash off the camera. Now, it's not super difficult to do that. It's not this like crazy mega move, but you have to understand how to do it, right? So the first time that I got the flash off the camera, I was able to hook something up to my hot shoe that was actually a cord. It was kind of a coiled cord, and it enabled me to just be able to like hold my flash off to the side, which was helpful enough. But nowadays you can buy things called transceivers. I use a Yongnuo transceivers, and they're not that expensive. I want to say $30, right? For two of them. You put one of them on the hot shoe on the top of your camera, and you put the other one on your flash, and then you can put your flash anywhere you want, right? So you get a stand at the bare minimum, right? You get a stand, or if you really don't have any money and all you can buy is the transceivers, then just put your flash on something. But that way you can get your flash off the camera, and then when it hits your subject's face, it's coming in like this, right? It's coming in like this, or coming in like this. It's not coming straight down. It's not coming straight up like your flashlight at the campfire, right? The angle is right. Somewhere in between here, you want it kind of coming in. Maybe a little bit higher if you like that kind of look. But again, when you're shooting, you're paying attention to the angles of light on people's face. And then you notice, oh, that's wrong. Or that's kind of weird. I need to fix that. You may not have the exact understanding for, this is exactly what I need to do. But the more you start paying attention to it, at least the question hits your mind while you're there taking the photo, as opposed to hitting your mind later when you're sitting in front of Lightroom and going, the light was wrong, right? So now maybe the first few times you won't understand how to do it in the moment, or maybe the first few times you won't notice it. But as you start, putting a question in your mind for like, I need to notice that. Even write it down on a sheet of paper for like, I need to check the angle of light on people's faces. I need to check the size of light or the type of shadow on people's faces. And then as you're doing your shoot, you can just reference this thing and go, oh, okay, look at the angle. Okay, and then you look at your subject's face and go, I'm paying attention to the angle of light. What's the angle of light doing, right? What's the type of shadow? Is it a harsh shadow? Is it a smooth shadow, right? As you do those things, you give yourself a checklist. You're not going to need that after a few times. You're just going to start doing it. You're going to start looking at your subject's face and going, okay, I see it. I see what happens. And then you have them stand there and you have them face you as you walk around them, right? So if they're facing you this way, right, and this is you, they turn around in a circle. As you walk around in a circle around them, they can still face you, right? So they can just kind of turn their bodies as you go around them. And then you watch how the shadows change on their face. That just by shooting from a different angle, you can find all sorts of different light. So, picking a better angle with your light source, what it really means is maybe you could shoot at a different time and the sun is lower. Maybe you could rotate around them and go to a different spot from where you're shooting from. They can stay in the same spot, but maybe you can rotate around them and find a better light source. So it's not necessarily just, move your flash to a different spot. It's being smart about all that stuff and just being able to just think about it and be free to think about it. As you solve the problem, you'll then have more things in your toolkit, right? The next time that you tell a client, I'm sorry, I can't meet with you at like 12 or 1, the light isn't going to be any good around then. And we want to make sure we have awesome light. So really we need to shoot around sunset. Let me take a look at what time sunset is. Then we'll back off maybe, an hour and a half to make sure that we have that last hour and a half of good light. and we'll be all set. And then by the end of the shoot, when the sun is really setting, that's when you can get some really, really, really gorgeous shots. Now you'll get some beautiful light before then when the sun's a little bit higher, but you'll be able to play in the proper window instead of playing in the window of 12 p.m., 1 p.m. when the light is just gonna be bad. Now if you have to shoot at that time, right? Let's say it's a wedding, and you have to shoot at 12:1, then you find places that are in complete shadow. Right? So in that case, you're not depending on the sun to be in the sky perfectly, shimmering down on your clients. That instead you are trying to make sure that there's no direct sunlight, but then maybe you use some bounced light from some other places, right? So let's say that there's a wall that is being illuminated by the sun, then that actually can become a light source, and then you can have your subject in complete shadow, but then since you're outside, it's brighter, right? And then the back wall that is illuminated by the sun becomes this large, beautiful light source. And then the light comes in from an angle. Because maybe the sun's coming straight down, or the sun's coming a little, if you were to take a photo in a field, then it would be bad. But as the sun is hitting that wall, it transfers to have the light being over here. And then you can put your subject here, and then all of a sudden you're still shooting at 12 or 1, but because you've changed your light source, and now the light angle is coming in from the side as opposed to coming top down or bottom up or whatever else that would not look good. You are using the sunlight to your advantage. You are able to think about the concept of angle of light, and you're able to succeed in that scenario. So as you understand, you'll start to have more in your toolkit, you'll start to think about it differently, and you'll start to have more confidence as you move forward. I hope this has been helpful. If you have more questions about Flash, please ask me. I want to help. Go to t.me/grainhappy and start a conversation with me on Telegram. Hope you have a good day. Take care.